Okay, today I thought I'd do a video on my hood hinges. What I have there is a set of Eddy Motorsport billet hinges for the 55 to 57 Apache. Yes, this is a 58, and yes, I have a 58. However, if you've watched any of my other videos, you'll be well aware that I actually have a 57 cab somehow. The difference being the wiper mounting on the inside where the wiper mounts, and those two bolts that go through the firewall there on the 55 to 57 are closer together with bigger bolts, and on the 58, 59 they are wider apart and they are smaller bolts. So the hinges that came with my truck when I purchased it were the original looking hinges, and as you can see, the holes in the firewall mountings were slotted, and I re-slotted them, trying to make it work so that when that was mounted in here, I had enough drop, just throw that on the ground, so that the hood actually closed. And if you watch some of my videos from 6 months ago, the hood sat proud back here and I couldn't get it to sit any lower. Hence the Eddy Motorsport hinges. So I went and bought a set of Eddy Motorsport hinges, and they mounted up and they look freaking great. I haven't put the little shock absorber on here yet because I haven't got the bonnet mounted. Primarily because, actually we'll just get this hinge I dropped on the ground back. Stand by. If you look at this hinge, where it mounts to the hood, it has a drop or a recess, where the 58, 59 doesn't, and the hole spacing is a lot wider apart as well. So the hinges are totally different. So I couldn't have just got a 55 to 57 hinge. Well, I probably could have, because I don't think they mount to the same point down there for the spring return, if memory serves me right. So that's why I went this way, but I didn't know about that. Now if we come over here to my hood, this is my 58 hood, so you can see the inside of the upwards recess there. It has, funnily enough, a flat mount wide enough for those two holes, which poses a problem when I now have this. I did send an email to Eddy Motorsports, and I never ever heard back from them about trying to just buy a new top piece for the late model 58, 59 and bolting that into here, but yeah, never heard back from them. So that aside, being stuck in New Zealand, I put out a help and managed to absconder this thing for a very, very cheap price from a gentleman in Wellington, a 55 to 57 hood. And if we look down here, you can see I have the right hinge mounting. So obviously I took some measurements to start with, especially along this front end here, where you would expect it to be wider on the 55 to 57, which it was. I measured it as that wide versus the 58, 59 with the twin headlights being smaller. So this bonnet was 90mm wider, so I couldn't just put this bonnet on. So I came down a step, and first thing I noticed is it also doesn't run a vertical chassis support down here, but the 58, 59 unbolts. And if we come into here, the bolt hole spacing between these on the 55 to 57, I measured this one out at 11.15 and the 58, 59 at basically 100mm shorter. So the 58, 59 again is narrower through this section, as you would expect. Coming down to the bottom of the cross bracing, funnily enough, at the bottom brace here where this mounts, the 55 to 57, 58 to 59 were exactly the same hole spacings between those two bolts. Which got me to thinking, if the back end is the same, what about my hinge spacing down here? And so I measured the back end of the corners of the bonnets in the 55 to 57. This particular one was 1575, and my 58 to 59, 1580. So there was 5mm wider on my existing bonnet from this corner to that corner, which got me thinking, why don't I, because I don't need this bonnet, I just need this hinge. So I'm going to now unstitch this plate from this hood. And then, I've already removed that cross brace from my hood because I've got some stainless steel rods that are going to go from there to there, and there to there. But if I remove this bar, because the 55 to 57 doesn't have a bolt hole in the bottom of it, down the bottom there, theoretically, if I unstitch or unspot weld this inside, I should be able to put that inside into this hood and then just repaint the hood, giving me a hybrid 55 to 57 hood, which makes everything work together on my 58 hood. Watch this space.